My name is Bob Ejike. I am the founder of Nollywood, the third biggest movie industry in the world. This often surprises people. I started Nollywood in the year 1983. Uh, that doesn't mean that that was the first Nollywood film, but that was the first film that I made which won a national award and had um, that subcontinental appeal. And that film is Echoes of Wrath, which was backed by the Bendel Arts Council. And in 1983, we launched a star called Richard Moffat Damijo, who is presently one of the biggest actors in Africa. And we won the NAFEST award. And most people who are acting now, the superstars, producers, directors, what have you, 1983, they were not even acting at all. They were not even in the industry. Some of them come to claim incredible knowledge of the industry. They were not even there. Most were in their villages. And long before that, up to 6 years before that, I was already a celebrity. I was already celebrated. Um, Not in movie because there was no movie industry then, except of course we had the cinema which went round. Somebody went round with a megaphone mounted on a vehicle and called the city together into a field, usually a school, and there is a film going on, usually a cowboy film, John Wayne, Long Green, London, and then there is also some announcer who is kind of interpreting what is being done in the film for the not too literate people to understand. So that was the film, the old Nigerian film. Of course, there had been films in Nigeria made by people like Ogunde, Herbert Ogunde, Adelove, and that's the Yoruba Traveling Theatre, which also produced films. But these films were, to a large extent, limited to Yoruba land. And a lot of the films were sponsored by UNICEF and other international organizations. And he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So these films did project an Africa that was basically primitive, and they hardly allowed anything positive to manifest from the African. Now, the difference with Nollywood, it's immense, as you will see, because Nollywood being apolitical, we just came out with our cameras and shot the reality so you can see the reality of life. And we didn't have any sponsor dictating to us because we are the sponsors. Our traders, our local electronics traders were the sponsors. So they didn't tell us, hey, try to make the place look beautiful or nice, or try to denigrate the race or the black race or the African personage and those kind of things that the West enjoys doing. We didn't have to do any of that. So that's what makes Nollywood unique, because it comes out with truth, with the reality. Anyway, that wasn't the first film I made. I'd been making films for a lot of TV stations, starting from NTA Enugu, NTA Port Harcourt. I wrote for Komishekia in Enugu. We started on radio because there was then the radio theater, if you like, the radio drama. I was an expert in radio drama. I wrote and I acted, I voiced, and I was voicing with Tony and Ike, who was a great personage. I was tutored by Emeke Bokoba, who was the producer. And over the years, by writing scripts which he read and corrected and taught me the style of how to write a radio drama. And I was an expert in radio drama. And From radio drama, we evolved into television as television became more popular. The first medium, even before radio drama, was what you call the Onitsha market literature. Onitsha market literature was not necessarily written in Onitsha. Onitsha was just the biggest publishing outpost for that. But, we wrote a lot for short stories, for newspapers, and I was writing for the Renaissance, which eventually became Daily Star, and I was also writing for the Democrat, which was a politically aligned newspaper. At that time, I was apolitical, but I was in charge of the poetry corner for the Democrat, and then I was writing more prominently for the Drum magazine, which was the biggest magazine in Africa. Now, I was sharing a page in Drum magazine with Ben Okri, who I understand has been nominated or won the Pulitzer Prize for Literature. And actually, when I went on to university, I wrote my bachelor's degree thesis on the works of Ben Okri, and I got an A. And I had no references because nobody was writing about Ben Okri. But I knew Okri, I knew the soul of Okri because we shared a page in the Drum magazine. So it was amazing because what I wrote actually was um, an original research. And my lecturers did acknowledge that that was a work of genius. Because Okri was genius, and you had to understand Okri. As at that time, he had only two books: the Flowers and Shadows and the Landscapes Within, and it was based on this. And well, eventually, when television emerged to become the prominent medium, and I started writing for television. I wrote for the Radio Television Kaduna, which was actually NTA Kaduna. At the same time, I was writing for the Radio Nigerian Kaduna, and I was writing also for the Plateau Radio, and I collaborated a lot with the late Sonny Oti, professor at University of Jos, Theatre Arts, and I was fascinated by people like Larry Williams. He had come from Festac and established himself, and I watched him on television. I watched his dramatization of poetry, and it was great inspiration for me. And when eventually we started Nollywood, to start Nollywood, there are questions that people always ask: why did you start Nollywood? And I would say Nollywood was a protest. The Nigerian television was very exploitative. We did dramas, we wrote dramas, we acted dramas, but they never wanted to pay decently. Um, you could earn like 50 naira for acting in a major drama. Every episode you earn something like between 30 to 50 naira, which was peanuts. And we argued. Our argument was that we should be paid more because we wanted to be professional. Nobody was a professional. The people went into acting. Maybe they wanted to be famous, but hardly did anyone go in expecting to make a living from it. You had to have your job somewhere. You were maybe a security guard, a cleaner, or a civil servant, or anything like that. Even the new masquerade, which was being recorded, and in Enugu then, and I'd say Enugu had the best television station we had in Nigeria then. The intelligentsia, the artistic intelligentsia, was concentrated in Enugu. Enugu was where we recorded the new masquerade, Village Headmaster, Basi and Co. And that was when I met the late Ken Saruwiwa, who was also, he attended Government College Umuahia, like I did. And so it was easy for us to flow. And prior to that time, I was writing and acting for Aduke. She was popularly known as Ethel Stelioji, for the theater of ABS, Anambra State Broadcasting Corporation, Enugu then. And I was working with Kanayo. Oh, Kanayo, I remember. I was working with Ejike Asiebu. I was working with Oswafia. He was not Oswafia then. He was Nkemowo, simply Nkemowo. And he was not even a comedian. He was just an actor. Before, over time, working with Basi and Co. and working with the New Masquerade, he evolved comedy and became one of Nigeria's most prominent comedians, and he was a friend of mine. I worked with a lot of the set of Basi and Co. Basi and Co. In case you don't know Basi and Co., then you were a very young person then. To be a millionaire, think like a millionaire. Madam the madam, to be a millionaire, think like a millionaire. Madam the madam, it's a matter of cash. And I wrote some of those episodes that entertained Nigerians. And Basi and Co. was the biggest soap opera comedy on the national scene as of then. Ken Sarowiwa was, I would say, the very first person to start an independent production company in Nigeria. And he did inspire a generation of producers who now understood that you could make a living by producing drama. And when we talk about Nollywood, we must never forget the people like Lola Fani Kayode of Mirror in the Sun, because she was running this program, Mirror in the Sun, which was a weekly, and all the ladies went home. Your girlfriend left you, your mother left you, your auntie left you, your teacher left you. All the ladies, even your nurse, left you with an excuse. They ran home to watch this program called Mirror in the Sun. And Mirror in the Sun was so interesting, but NTA didn't want to pay reasonably for it. And unfortunately for her, the lady is a lawyer from a prominent family of lawyers. So she took them to court. And at that time, NTA started to sit up a bit. I do recall going with Onyeka Onwenu and Charlie Boy to protest in front of NTA, facing the mobile police with their guns pointed at us and threatening to shoot us dead because we were asking for our rights, basically for residual income coming from the program that she presented for NTA. So NTA had this attitude that we were no good. They told us to the face that we Nigerian artists were no good. And I didn't believe that, because I know, having worked with many artists in Nigeria, both as a singer and as a writer and as an actor, I knew that we are some of the best artists in this world, that we have extraordinary talent, that, the average Nigerian is artistic and funny. We had all this going for us. The only thing I saw standing in our way was the NTA itself, the Nigerian Television Authority. We had to cross that obstacle, because it was an obstacle. And if you ever said anything against NTA, you were banned. Like they banned Onyeka, like they banned Fani Kayode. So when I voiced the idea that we could take our drama away from NTA, put it in VHS tapes, and sell it directly to the market. Everybody was terrified. People who earned from NTA say, oh, you want us to stop getting the little money that we're getting, because if they hear us discussing this kind of thing, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. They will blackmail us and we can't act anymore. There was only one TV station in Nigeria, one network. And if they cut you off, you were out of business completely. You didn't know where to go next. The theater was not developed. People were scared because of armed robbery to go and congregate in a theater to watch a production. You know? So I was the enemy. Everybody said I was crazy. Somebody said I was too greedy, too ambitious. I should be okay with the £50 they paid an episode, which could not even pay my rent. You know? But I said, it's all right. It's okay. Let's do it. But how then a few that were interested, they were really asked, but who is going to sponsor this? I said, we will make them sponsor it. We will make them sponsor it. Listen, look how we do it. Eh? Get your movie, get NTA to shoot the movie. Get a copy of it. Take it to an editor. Cut off NTA from one side, cut off the credits from the other side of NTA, and take it to the market and sell. It doesn't require so much imagination. It's still yours. It's your copyright anyway. After all, what are they giving you for it? Nothing, peanuts. And that's what we did with Echoes of Wrath. You know, we got the play done into a movie by a genius called Festus Igalo. Great genius. When I first presented this material to NTA, Bob Ejike, who was in charge of drama in NTA Enugu, dismissed this as rubbish. And Festus, who was a youth copper there, saw my look, because I was sure of what I'd written. And he said, let me see this, let me take it with me. And then he went home with it. And then when he came back, he told me, Bob, this is a movie. It's not a drama. Bob Ejike is trained in drama, so she cannot understand your movie. And then he took it to Benin. And then he called me and said, can we do something with this? I said, yeah, let's go ahead. And then he talked the Bendel Arts Council into the production. And we, syndicated to NTA. And that way we got NTA shooting facilities and things like that. And at the end of the day, I got the copy that I wanted. And I took this into the market. I was a bit scared initially. I went to Aba market and I talked to this marketer. Somebody still had to bring the tapes. It wasn't easy to convince anyone to bring out his tapes to record, to present the first Nigerian movie on video. It was not an easy thing to convince anyone. I was also a bit scared. The marketer told me, you, of all people, should be confident. Because if you are scared, everybody will be scared. When they look at you, they see the fear in you. And eventually, I talked a number of people into investing in it. And then it started selling. And that was how we sold the first Nigerian film on video. And thereafter, in my village, Oba, my video, I had a gentleman, a young man called Fajo, who used to do video for me. He used to video my performances and occasions. And at one point, he asked me, what do you think about producing a comedy for commercial purposes? Why not? And then we started this thing called Mike Olifedima Okpuru Anyanwụ, and we worked on this for about 12 years. And every weekend, all the traders bought this comedy and took it home. And lo and behold, after all this process, somebody, neck video, I believe, Kenneth Nebwe, found that he could expand on this tradition which I started and which was already on course for the last 12 years. And that was when they did Living in Bondage, which a lot of people mistake to be the first Nigerian film. We'd been making films for 12 years before Living in Bondage. Great film, very successful, expanded the industry that we started. So I respect them as having made the biggest film for that epoch, but definitely not the first film, nor the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh or eighth, And that is how Nollywood started. And when Nollywood started, I thought this idea needs to go international, because if it is localized, it will die. And I took off to Italy, which was the only country that gave me a visa at that time. But I knew that once I was in Italy, I could penetrate other European countries. And in Italy, besides my work, my music, my other areas of art, I started with a professor, Piero Airaghi, in Rome, Milan, the exhibition of African art. And this was the platform within which we started to propagate, to talk about Nollywood, because other films were being made by other people, and we had to create an idea. I remember my lecturer, my professor Olarotimi. I studied under the best people in the arts in Africa. Professor Olarotimi, when he started the School of Basic Studies in Uniport, University of Port Harcourt, where I studied, and he said to me, or rather I said to him, you are taking in a lot of people. They are in the hundreds being admitted to study theater art, but there's no theater. Where are they going to work? And Ola said, when you push a lot of pressure into a small space, there must be an explosion. And it is this explosion that we call Nollywood today. And that is how Nollywood started. Well, we went around. I traveled the length and breadth of Europe, giving lectures. I went to the Cannes Cannes Film Festival in France. I went to Bulgaria. I went to London several times. I went to different parts of Europe. I went to Malta. I went even to Libya. And I think I've been in most continents of the world with Nollywood. And while I was very busy, my interest was not in making myself a star. No. I was more interested in creating a tradition, expressing the African idea, correcting the historical imbalances, the false image that had been foisted on us as Black people and as Africans, that we were primitive, which is not true, because we were much more advanced than Western Europe. We were just more humane. We were not violent like they were. I mean, we could have invaded other people, taking them into slavery and all of that when we were building all the great works of architecture and art that we did. We could have developed weapons instead. Well, we didn't do that. We were humanists as Africans. And then we wanted, most importantly, to have a voice in world media where the African could express himself, not passing through anyone. Mm. We wanted to have that situation where the African could have his own expression, not being sponsored and being compelled to present himself more like an animal. No. And we achieved that. We achieved that, and we achieved more than if we even programmed. We achieved wealth for the nation. That now, when you talk about Nigeria, you can't really talk about Nigeria without talking about Nollywood, because everywhere you go, even at the diplomatic level, if you say Nigerian, people talk about Nollywood. Now, Nollywood became the second highest bringer of foreign exchange to the nation. Nigeria, it became the third highest employer of labor. And then with Nollywood, there has been a development, incredible development of trade in electronics, trade in CDs, trade in technology. And then there's also the Nollywood became an amalgam of Nigerian art, not just film. Because when you talk about Nollywood now, you will talk about the comedy. It is the network marketing, international and local marketing networks of Nollywood that has projected our comedy. Today, you can talk about Davido, Wizkid, and the rest of them. Why couldn't you talk about them before? In the days of Felix Liberty, Chris Okotie, why didn't they go international? Because there was no Nollywood. Now, Nollywood has provided a platform from which Nigerian art immediately develops wings and flies to every part of the world. Whatever you sell in Alaba market, within the next 2 weeks, you will find it in Moscow. You will find it in New Delhi, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, everywhere in the world. In the whole of Africa now watches Nollywood as the prime source of entertainment in the world. Even the intellectuals are not sleeping. I've been called to many research. Netflix called me in to do a film, and Harvard researchers have been calling. And if you go into your Google, you will find what has been written, how much I have been quoted, and that is how Nollywood started.